the Miss Namibia Organization is not exactly known for producing tons and tons of international title holders, except of course for Michelle McLean, who they wheel out once a year just to remind us of that one time they actually achieved something. Namibia itself, as well as the Miss Namibia Organization, has a really rich and interesting history. The Miss Namibia pageant, as we know it today, was founded in 1980 by Chanique Rabe and was organized by the Afrikaans newspaper Die Republikein, which is actually still popular and in circulation today. There had been women such as Anne Parker in 1977 who fancied themselves as Miss Southwest Africa, which was how many people still referred to Namibia at the time, since the official name change from Southwest Africa to Namibia had only happened 11 years prior in 1968, although many people did not respect or recognize or even known that this change had happened. But basically, it's just important to know that all women who styled themselves as Miss Southwest Africa or Miss Namibia prior to 1980 really had nothing to do with the Miss Namibia pageant and Miss Namibia Organization as we know it today. And also, in order to understand Miss Namibia's history, you have to first understand Namibia's history as a country, especially in how it relates to Germany and also South Africa. Namibia used to be a German colony called German Southwest Africa. After World War I, however, full administrative and legislative control of German Southwest Africa went to South Africa, which was very much still under British influence, as it had only been a British colony up until recently. So the idea was that South Africa, which was, a bit more advanced at the time, could take care of Namibia, look after Namibia and Namibians' interests and, the welfare, well-being and, progress of the Namibian people. But of course, being 20th century South Africa, they had different plans. Apartheid was conceptualized in 1948 and was put into practice in South Africa and Namibia in the 1950s. South Africa was part of the British Commonwealth at this time, and many within the Commonwealth argued that South Africa should be removed due to its policies of racial segregation. Meanwhile, Southwest Africans were growing more and more angsty with the idea that South African government wanted to apply this regime to a people who they technically were supposed to ensure the well-being of. And as long as South Africa were under British influence, being part of the Commonwealth, the situation could remain semi-stable at least, since Great Britain did not condone segregation, or at least they had no official legislation for it. So, understandably, when South Africa left the British Commonwealth in 1960, Southwest Africans got a little bit panicky about it. South Africa had been treating Southwest Africa as a de facto province of theirs for nearly 40 years at this point, but Southwest Africa had never been officially incorporated into South Africa and still remained its own country in the eyes of the world and the UN at least. During the 1960s, many European powers granted independence to their African colonies, and seeing the potential disruption that further implementation of South African policy can cause in Southwest Africa, countries like Liberia and Ethiopia actually stood up for Southwest Africa at the UN and made a complaint against South Africa's continual and unwelcomed presence in Southwest Africa. So in 1966, the UN actually revoked South Africa's right to have control over Southwest Africa and deemed any further presence of South Africa in Southwest Africa as being illegal. And obviously the South African government did not take this well, and this was the start of a 23 years long war between the Southwest Africa People's Organization and the People's Liberation Army of Namibia against South African forces. The South African government continued to resist the UN's efforts to ensure a peaceful transition of power, and in the mid-1970s, it seems, the world at large had finally had enough of South Africa's unwillingness to not only give Namibia the independence it deserved, but also its own people in South Africa. I mean, most most of South Africans couldn't even vote due to their race. And it was at this point in the mid to late 1970s that South Africa was banned from most international competitions and things like that. And the Miss South Africa organization actually had their Miss World license revoked. But truthfully, for white Namibians, it was business as usual. I mean, they had all of the same voting power and rights as their white South African counterparts. And so it's not surprising that in the middle of a literal war, Chanique could conceptualize something as comparatively frivolous as a beauty pageant. However, unlike the Miss South Africa pageant that operated for decades, only allowing white women, the very first Miss Namibia pageant in 1980 was open to all women, and in fact the very first Miss Namibia was a black woman named Bernice Tembu. The following year, the Miss Namibia Organization managed to get the Miss Universe license since Miss World had banned South Africa and Namibia by extension in 1978. But Miss Universe still allowed South Africa and thus its territories such as Namibia to compete. Good old Miss Universe, slow as ever to involve themselves in any politics. So in 1981, Namibia made its debut at Miss Universe with Antoinette Knoetse, who was crowned Miss Namibia 1981 earlier. But since Namibia's war for independence from South Africa was ongoing and the flag of Namibia as we know it today had not been designed yet at that time, Antoinette actually represented Namibia under the South African flag, which was weird because South Africa's representative Daniela De Paulo also used the same flag. And this was the case for the next 3 years until South Africa and Namibia by extension were banned from Miss Universe because of apartheid. But in those initial years from 1981 to 1984, Namibia never placed at Miss Universe anyway. Luckily, toward the end of the 80s, it became clear that Namibia would gain independence from South Africa and that apartheid was nearing its end. So the Miss World Organization allowed Namibia to partake in 1989, 2 years before they would eventually allow South Africa back as well. For 4 years, the Miss Namibia Organization couldn't send their title holders anywhere due to worldwide boycotts of the South African government. So for Miss Namibia 1989, MZ Esterhuizen, it must have felt amazing to know that she could represent Namibia, even though she still had to do it with the old South African flag. At Miss World 1990, however, Ronel Liebenberg was the very first Miss Namibia to represent Namibia under the Namibian flag that we all love and know today. This was the year that Namibia officially gained independence from South Africa and Miss Universe welcomed both countries back. Because of this, Ronel, who was Miss Namibia 1990, represented Namibia at both Miss World 1990 and Miss Universe 1991. At this point, Namibia had never placed at either Miss Universe or Miss World, but this all changed when Miss Namibia 1991 was crowned. Michelle McLean was an absolute force. Upon competing at Miss World 1991, she made the top 5, which has been Namibia's highest placement at Miss World ever to date. But of course, Michelle McLean is most well known for securing Namibia's one and only Miss Universe win when she was crowned Miss Universe 1992. Unfortunately, over at Miss World, Namibia didn't place from 1992 until 2005. In fact, Namibia didn't compete at Miss World at all between 1994 and 1996 and 1998 and 1999, presumably because of financial strain. After Michelle's reign, things weren't looking much better for Namibia at Miss Universe either, although non-placements remained a problem. Barbara Kachipara received the Miss Congeniality Award at Miss Universe 1994 at least, and in 1995, the Miss Universe pageant was actually held in Namibia. This is actually a very big deal because to this day, not even South Africa has hosted Miss Universe. In fact, Namibia has been the only African country ever to host the Miss Universe pageant. But even so, even when the pageant is hosted in our own country, We failed to place that here. In 1997, the directorship of Miss Namibia changed hands from Nick Creer to Donnie Boetes, and under the new directorship, Miss Namibia 1997 Shea Shipanga competed at both Miss World and Miss Universe before Namibia once again took a 2-year hiatus from Miss World. Donnie didn't stay national director of Miss Namibia for very long. In 1999, the current national director, Connie Maritz, actually took over, and I have a bit of a theory that Connie Maritz is much more inclined towards Miss World rather than Miss Universe, because for the first 15 years of her reign, Namibia competed very sporadically at Miss Universe while being mostly present at Miss World. Namibia did not compete at Miss Universe in 2001, 2004, 2007, 2008, 2010, 2011, 2014, 2015, and of course 2020, but who's counting that? But Namibia did manage to place in the top 10 at Miss Universe 2003 through Miss Namibia 2002 Ndapewa Alphonse. This has been Namibia's only placement ever at Miss Universe outside of Michelle McLean's win in 1992. And then some bad news. Miss Namibia 2005 Lifa Shikwa had her title of Miss Namibia stripped after it was discovered that she had been married on 15 November 2004 before competing at Miss Namibia. Before this discovery, however, Lifa did compete at Miss World 2005, but she went unplaced. In 2006, Namibia achieved its second ever Miss World placement through Miss Namibia 2006 Anna Svetlana Nashandi, who managed to reach a spot in the top 17. And 4 years later, in 2010, Miss Namibia 2010 Odile Gertze achieved Namibia's third ever placement at Miss World by getting a spot in the top 25. And 2010 was also the year that a sister organization for Miss Namibia was created, known as the Miss Namibia pageant, but that's another topic for another video for another day. And although Namibia has not placed at Miss World since then, Steffi van Wyk, who was Miss Namibia 2015, managed to receive the special award of Miss World Sport at Miss World 2015. Between 2015 and 2020, Namibia took a long hiatus from Miss World and rather focused on Miss Universe instead. And the Miss Namibia Organization is definitely not without its share of controversy. In 2019, Miss Namibia 2018 Selma Kamanya shook the pageant industry in Namibia up when she went to the press alleging emotional and financial abuse as well as neglect at the hands of the Miss Namibia Organization during her reign. She spoke about how she did not receive all of the prizes promised to her and how she had to pay for many things out of pocket. She apparently did not receive enough emotional support when she competed at Miss Universe either. And slowly, many other former Miss Namibias came forward with their own horror stories about their Miss Namibia experiences, including Miss Namibia 2016 Lazelle Esterhazen, who alleged that she was body shamed and told to lose weight by the organization, on top of the fact that being Miss Namibia cost her like 300,000 Namibian dollars. In 2020, this was the very first time in Miss Namibia's history since 1980 that no Miss Namibia pageant was held for obvious reasons. The plague. Since 2021, the Namibian Broadcasting Corporation have taken a bigger role in the Miss Namibia Organization, and Connie Maritz, who had been national director since 1999, has been playing an increasingly smaller part recently. Also in 2021, Namibia competed at both Miss Universe and Miss World for the first time since 2013. And recently, for the first time ever, a serious contender for the Miss Namibia's top pageant in Namibia spots has come into existence. The Miss Supranational Namibia Organization's international success, I think it may just be the healthy competition that the Miss Namibia Organization needs to start getting those elusive placements and titles at Miss World and Miss Universe. Guys, that was the history of the Miss Namibia pageant and organization. Let me know what you guys think. I know that Miss Namibia, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but this video was more of a vanity project for me. It was more of a personal thing because you guys know I've been living in Namibia for like 10 years now. I consider myself to be Namibian, so I really just wanted to look into their history a bit. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!